Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, the full version is available on Patreon. I'll be uploading all my content there going forward.
Chapter 1. Shigure Akito. It's really yours, how can you be distracted at this moment? Shuzo, who was vaguely in the state of butterfly dream Zhuangzhou, suddenly heard a strange yet familiar voice. As soon as the voice fell, he felt his shoulder being shaken. Shuzo opened his eyes drowsily and saw a face that looked a little nervous and a little irritable. Very strange. A face that was both familiar and unfamiliar to him. And from this perspective, this man is so tall. Black name, Shinji. After thinking for a moment, the name that came to mind came out of Shuzo's mouth. After coming back to his senses, Shuzo, or Shigure Akito, immediately realized that if he was not dreaming, he would have traveled through time. And obviously, from all aspects of feeling and reality, the latter is more likely. Shigure, cheer up, this is the test for joining the basketball club of the wealthy Teikō. And have you seen that old man? I heard that he is Teikō's coach. It is said that he has never participated in the basketball team's rookie selection before, but this time he is here in person. If we perform well, maybe we can break Teikō's freshman ranking. The first test became the official selection history. Shigure Akito, etc. Rich family, Teikō. Kuroko's basketball? Moreover, if you enter the ministry for testing. Shigure Akito, who was still looking confused, suddenly had a lot of information pouring into his mind. The next second, he suddenly turned his head and looked at the newcomers around him who were waiting for the test. No. Kurono Shinji looked along Shigure's line of sight and asked with a strange look on his face, nothing. Shigure Akito. There is no generation of miracles. Just when he was thinking of this, he finally saw a familiar figure. That person was much more immature than he thought. At this moment, he was being sent into the queue of newcomers by Supervisor Shirogane Kozo with an awkward look on his face. It was built by Hongcun. Is it any wonder you don't see generation of miracles, one grade above them? If it is like this. Shigure Akito carefully recalled the memories of Teikō in the manga. Needless to say, Hongcun is known as the best power forward in the country. The friend next to me, the first-year junior high school student Shinji Kuromi, is 185 centimeters tall. In the comics, before the generation of miracles grew up, he was always at the front alongside Nijimura when he led the team. When generation of miracles began to occupy the main roster in large numbers, he remembered that there was another person who was still at the top of the list. He was a gloomy guy with long black hair and bangs that always covered his eyes. Perhaps due to the benefits of time travel, Shigure Akito feels that his memory has become much clearer after changing his brain. The previous generation of Teikō, which had fewer details in the comics, can still be matched in his mind. Finally, Shigure Akito found the person not far behind him, but he still didn't know his name yet. In this way, counting himself. Before generation of miracles, Teikō's core players in the previous grade were these guys. Shigure Akito, etc. Why count yourself in? Did you accept it too quickly? Is it because of the inertia of the original owner's memory, or what? Just when Shigure Akito was speechless, a system prompt that was necessary for time travelers suddenly sounded. First, a smile appeared on his face, and then he froze in place. Players Road to Glory login, Slam Dunk mobile game system has been loaded. Newbie benefits, 1/2, loading. Obtained general data player Wude Yuka. Player attributes have been updated. Name, Shigure Akito. Position, centile. School, Teikō Junior High. Height, 176. Offensive attributes. Near shot, 80. CIC, 105. 3 points, 105. Dunk, 52. Layup, 60. Common attributes. Transmission control, 95. Strength, 50. Anti-interference, 70. Bounce, 62. Run, 85. Dribble, 75. Defensive attribute. Rebounds, 60. Blocks, 60. Interference, 80. Steals, 85. Unlocked Slam Dunk Player, General Data Player Wude Yuka. Skills, Mochizuki Retreats, Standing Soft 3-Pointer, Breakthrough Soft Shooting, Full Acceleration, Blocking Pass and Interception, Ultimate Move, Freeze Moment. Shigure Akito. Slam Dunk Mobile Game. To be honest, I haven't played Shigure Akito. This kind of game always gives him the feeling of selling value for money, so he has always been quite resistant to it. And Slam Dunk. Will it really be effective to get the black basketball, a realm of science fiction basketball? The most important thing is, who is this Hideyuka given by the novice welfare? With a nervous mind, Shigure Akito clicked on the system, which was quite rudimentary at this time. In the unlocked skills of the personal attributes panel, he clicked on the skill demonstration of Yu Kazuo Hide. Then, Shigure Akito admitted that he just spoke too loudly. Slam Dunk Master and Slam Dunk Master mobile game cannot be summed up at all. To be precise, after putting on the mobile game shell, these slam dunk players have also become science fiction. For example, the player Shigure Akito got as a novice benefit is the shooting guard Tomokazu Hidero from Tsukutake High School in the slam dunk world. One move, watching the moon and stepping back, what a guy, a cross-stepping feint to break through and then a step back, and you can step back from the free throw line to the three-point line in an instant. The critical speed is extremely fast, and the retreat instantly feels like sprinting. Not to mention that this mobile game also comes with an ultimate move mode. Chapter 2. That. Do everyone here want to join the basketball club? Just when Shigure Akito was checking the skill demonstration, he heard the guy behind him with bangs covering his eyes, whom he was paying attention to just now, suddenly speaking gloomily. Several newcomers on the side were startled. Whoa! Scared me. Yes. Don't you know? If you have started playing basketball before, this is common sense. The basketball department of this school is a well-known and powerful school. This level should be said to be expected. By the way, I'm Matsugata Yo, who are you? Fuke Araji. Shigure Akito glanced back. It was obvious that after hearing these words, Lu Ha's brother Fuke Araji seemed to have become more gloomy. Compared with the other energetic people next to him, his aura was not too strong. A little weaker. Kurono Shinji glanced over with a sharp gaze that had some Nijimura charm, and then curled his lips and said, "Why does this guy come to Teikō with such no confidence? Don't underestimate him, Shinji." Shigure Akito turned to look at Kurono Shinji, pointed at Reiji Fukuya, and then pointed at the location of Nijimura Shuzo. This guy with bangs is not weak. But to say that the strongest newcomer here is probably that guy. After all, in terms of character setting, this person was personally invited by Director Platinum Kaozu to join the team, and it was evident from Platinum Kaozu's attitude towards the other party just now that he attached great importance to him. After listening to Shigure Akito's words, Kurono Shinji didn't think much about how the other party judged the strength. Instead, he unexpectedly looked at Nijimura Shuzo and said, "Ah, it's the bad guy. Shigure Akito. You know him?" "Tisk, I met him by chance." "Anyway, who is a serious junior high school student who would drive around on a motorcycle?" "Shigure Akito. It seems like this is happening." The worst thing Nijimura Shuzo ever did was riding a stolen motorcycle or something like that. In the manga, Captain Teikō, who is calm and reliable with excellent leadership and charisma, was so wild before he was good. Amidst the discussion of the newcomers, in front of the queue of newcomers in the arena, the coach of the First Army, Naoto Sanada, clapped his hands and said, Okay, everyone, pay attention. Before starting the entrance test, there is a premise that everyone needs to listen to. Clear? That's what our Jiak Basketball Club is all about, everything is about winning. The game is so. The same goes for your training. Jiak's training intensity is undoubtedly far beyond the level of ordinary schools. You need to think about this clearly before deciding whether to join the Jiak Basketball Club. If you just treat the Jiak Basketball Club as an ordinary after-school activity just for fun, then I advise students with this mentality to leave now. Naoto Sanada's eyes swept over a group of young people with different looks. After a while, he confirmed that no one in the room was about to leave, and then he continued, before introducing yourself, you must first grade everyone present as follows. Physical ability test and technical test. The test results will determine which one you should enter from the first army to the third army. Players who can wear the Jiak jersey and participate in official matches can only join the first army, but this is still too far for you. Judging from the performance of newcomers in the past, only a small number of you will be able to directly join the second army, while more will stay in the third army. This test will also be held regularly in the future. Those who join the second and third armed forces, I hope they will not give up training and continue to work hard to become stronger. Basketball strength is never achieved overnight. You should first aim at the third and second armies. Above. After Naoto Sanada finished speaking, a burst of whispers suddenly broke out in the queue of newcomers. That's what I heard too. So far in Jiak, no one has been directly promoted to the first army in the first year entrance test. So, you can only reach the second army at most. As for me, the three armies may also. I don't know what kind of test it will be, but the target is the second army anyway. Come on everyone! Impatient Hongcun built. The fierce yet tense Kurane Shinji. Reiji Fukuya hunched his shoulders and looked unsure. Shigure Akito's eyes passed through the group of young people one by one, while he quietly listened to the discussions of the people around him, and the look on his face gradually became determined and excited. Because at this point in time, it's really wonderful. Now that we have come to a world where science fiction basketball is the main theme, of course we must develop science fiction basketball. The monsters from Generation of Miracles will not join the team until next year, and the 5 untitled generals are still in their first year. This year is a perfect opportunity for him to use the system to develop his strength. When the Miracles join the team, he will show those brats what welcome to Jiak means. That's great. Everyone's hair is colorless. Shigure Akito couldn't help but sigh when he thought that there was no Generation of Miracles yet, while Kurono Shinji scratched his short beige hair and complained, Akito, I found, your focus today is so strange, and didn't you see that I changed my hair color? No. You are different. I'm talking about the natural kind. Hair that is naturally colored is what matters in this world. Of course, except for myself who is wearing a hanger. The Hongcun building with rainbow in its name is probably an exception. After all, the Generation of Miracles together is Team Rainbow, and Hongcun builds a person with rainbow in his name. If it weren't for the storyline of his father getting sick and giving up his position as captain, and then leaving for the United States directly after graduation, even the author himself wouldn't be able to tell what level of strength Nijimura Shuzo would have been. Chapter 3. Jiak's logistics team is preparing the test site, and Shigure Akito, who has gained a new set of attributes and skills by acquiring a slam dunk mobile player, is excited and eager to try it out. On the side, Kurono Shinji noticed this. Compared to his slightly tense self, he was a little surprised by how relaxed his friend was today. This guy. Extremely confident today. He glanced secretly, and after a moment he suddenly said, Kairen, do you want to compete? Who can join the first army? Shigure Akito raised an eyebrow when he heard this. Okay. My pleasure. Although I don't know how strong I am compared to Jiak Ikahun. But what is certain is that compared to the previous Shigure Akito, I am definitely a completely different person. I'll let you see my current strength later. Humph, Chu-ren, don't I know what your strength is? Don't underestimate the explosive power of adolescence, Shinji. If you put it that way, it seems like it. Kurono Shinji thought of himself. His current height of 185 centimeters was outstanding among a group of teenagers. In just one vacation, he had grown a lot taller quickly. The onset of puberty is indeed just that, sudden. To be honest, Kurono Shinji himself is not ready to play center yet. But correspondingly, his current strength is completely different from before. Thinking of this, Kurono Shinji quietly dispelled the last trace of tension, and at the same time, his adrenaline surged. He raised his hand and extended his fist towards Shigure Akito. Shigure Akito understands. Pa! Fist bump! The two looked at each other with a knowing smile on their lips. Behind the two of them, Reiji Fukuya quietly raised his head, and a trace of envy could not help but appear in his eyes covered by his bangs. Not long after, under the leadership of 1st Army coach Naoto Sanada, a group of newcomers were divided into several teams and went to different areas to test their physical abilities. From static to dynamic talent, there are many testing items, which once again made everyone realize that this is not a club activity in the traditional sense, but more like a professional team. Then, wait until everyone's physical test is completed. As a group of Teikō players with obvious signs of training entered, everyone reacted immediately, and the real test came next. As expected. As the newcomers looked at each other in confusion, first team coach Naoto Sanada announced the next test. The so-called technical test is a 1v1 match with members of the 2nd Army. This test examines skills other than physical ability. For a group of first-year junior high school freshmen, compared to testing in formal matches, a 1v1 duel can clearly show their abilities more intuitively. Real or fake? These people are the seniors of the Teikō 2nd Army. 1v1 with them. It doesn't have to be a win, right? It should just be a test to show off your skills. Snort. It's just the 2nd Army, there's nothing to be afraid of. Among the people, some were excited, while others looked ugly. The Teikō basketball club is very famous. Although it has not been able to win the championship in the past 2 years, it has never fallen out of the top 3 in the country. In daily exchange games, Teikō's tradition has always been that 1 or 2 members of the 1st Army lead the 2nd Army, and sometimes even directly send the entire 2nd Army lineup to fight. Even so, Teikō still has more wins than losses. The strength of the two armies is evident. Now, the named players, please go to the designated half-court for the test. As Naoto Sanada finished speaking, the 1v1 test of the Teikō basketball club officially began. And the first one to be named. Hongcun Construction. Field No. 1. Shigure Akito had a pair of phoenix eyes, and revealed the ferocious Nijimura Shuzo in his brows. When he looked at Supervisor Shirogane Kozo with a cold face, Shigure Akito could never imagine that when he first appeared as a captain in the 2nd year, he would be so steady and approachable, and he would also care about his juniors. Look like. Thinking of this, Shigure Akito couldn't help but look at Supervisor Shirogane Kozo. Thought. What transformation technique did this old man perform on first-year Hongcun? Snort. Damn old man. Nijimura Shuzo, who didn't know what the reason was for Supervisor Platinum, was walking towards Field 1, muttering to himself. When he passed by Shigure Akito, he saw that the other person was staring at him. Nijimura Shuzo's half-closed eyes suddenly glanced at him. Passed by. Shigure Akito clearly read the words "What are you looking at?" from the other person's eyes. The filter is broken and this guy is as flat as Hizaki now. Apparently he was not the only one who felt the same as Shigure Akito. Kurono Shinji frowned slightly after seeing the look in Nijimura Shuzo's eyes. The sense of déjà vu is too strong. That look was crazier than his own. Disgusting guy. On the other side, Naoto Sanada continued to call names, and soon it was Shigure Akito's turn, ranked third in order, and the test venue was number 3. Because 1v1 only needs to be used for half of the court. Therefore, in terms of venue arrangement, the entire venue is divided into 2 halves. Court 1, where the Hongcun building is located, is one half, and the other half of the venue is Court 2. The number 3 court where Shigure Akito is located is adjacent to the half court built by Nijimura. If you turn your head, you can see each other. So, as long as I kill this second army, that's all, right? Smelly old man. Nijimura Shuzo turned to look at Shirogane Kozo, who had come to the sidelines at some point. He completely ignored his opponent and spoke arrogantly. Shirogane Genzo smiled slightly, then shook his head. In that case, we can only join the second army. If it were you, why don't you try Yu-jun? Nijimura Shuzo stepped on the ball next to his feet, tiptoed a little, and the ball came to his hand lightly. What does it mean to have 1 army and 2 armies? Anyway, I have already come as promised. I'm very busy. Old man. Chapter 4. Nijimura Shuzo's opponent was completely angered by Nijimura's attitude of ignoring him. Although he knew that the person in front of him was the newcomer favored by Supervisor Platinum, in the end he was just a newcomer. He is a member of the Second Army who has gone through hard training in Teikō for a whole year. You will never lose to this kind of first-grade brat. Boy! Don't think about 1 army and 2 armies yet. It's better to wait until you are sent to the Third Army to do that kind of daydreaming. To be honest, basketball is a sport that requires a lot of talent, especially in the early stages. This gap is particularly obvious, and the junior high school stage is exactly this period. In the 1v1 test, the newcomers basically start. Shuzo Nijimura holds the ball, his hands naturally drooping in a triple threat posture. The opposing second-string players want to press forward to defend. However, Shuzo Nijimura responds extremely quickly with shooting fakes and uses continuous probing steps to force the opponent back. The timing is just right, and the technique is visibly sophisticated. Even a little too sophisticated. Shigure Akito. Regarding the strength of Hongcun construction. In the original comic, not much was shown on screen. Especially considering that Hongcun is affected by off-field factors, its strength has always been a mystery. Most of them are side descriptions in words, such as the number 1 power forward in the country, excellent skills, broad vision and passing ability and so on. But, judging from this triple threat alone, we can already see some shadows of comic descriptions. The creation of this triple threat is both oil and gangster. Tisk. In Shigure Akito's field of vision, Nijimura Shuzo suddenly launched an attack after forcing the opponent back. The first step of the start was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he had already arrived at the side of the opponent from the second team. Looking from Shigure Akito's side, he was facing the majestic expression of the second team player. However, as Teikō's second army, this player's defense is not so fragile that he can be passed by in one step. His feet suddenly exerted force to keep up, and his whole body was pressed against Hongcun Zaihuzeo's side. Then, everyone only heard a muffled sound. Just when Shigure Akito thought Nijimura Shuzo would continue to break down the opponent's defense with his skills, this guy unexpectedly came up with a head-on confrontation. The member of the second army was clearly stronger than Hongcun, but he stumbled backwards. Apparently, in terms of strength, there is a level difference between the two people. And next, unlike the arrogance displayed by Hongcun off the court, on the court, although his playing style is still wild and head-on, he is the type that combines strength and skills. In this way, the power of Hongcun Zaihuzeou seems to have been more than doubled. Bang! Crotch, turn your back. By beating. Hip turn breakthrough. Bang! Cross step to pass. Breakthrough moment, rub shoulders. Bang! The scene was very strange. It was clear that Hongcun showed amazing skills on the court, but in the eyes of everyone, especially the member of the Second Army who was defending Hongcun's building, he staggered back again and again after being beaten. This moment. What technique? It's all so violent. Shigure Akito on the side was also stunned. Fear. The second-place player was quite strong, but he was beaten as if he were made of paper. Let's ignore the offense for now. If he were to defend himself, it would probably be a similar scene. After all, the player Uday Tomoka obtained by the slam dunk system is good at shooting and controlling movement, but his strength attribute only has 50 points. Strength is his weakness. In terms of defense, he has a full 85 steals. Before he can obtain other slamming players to supplement his strength attributes, defensively, he may only be able to compete with Nijimura's Shuzo in terms of steals. On the field, Shuzo Nijimura, who is almost the same height as Shigure Akito, arrived at the basket in an instant. Phew! Take off and attack the basket. First year of junior high school, about 175 centimeters tall, barely a dunk. That's outrageous. The members of the Second Army, who were completely left behind by him, widened their eyes in disbelief. He never expected that the good job of educating newcomers at the beginning of the school year would turn into such an embarrassing situation. There is no more embarrassing scene than being counter-educated by a freshman who has just entered school in front of so many people. Off the field. The newcomers who were already very nervous became even more nervous after seeing this scene. I'm afraid that my friends will have a hard time, but I'm also afraid that my friends will drive Land Rover. This sentence probably reflects the mood of the first-year newcomers at this moment. However, just when everyone was comforting each other, this is just an example, that guy was brought here by the supervisor himself. The person the supervisor is interested in must be a monster. The testing of the next monster begins. That's right. It's Shigure Akito on Field 3. The Road to Glory mission has been loaded. In the 1v1 test of Teikō joining the club, if you successfully defeat a member of the Second Army, you will receive the subsequent novice benefits, 2 halves, and a random player with ordinary data from Slam Dunk mobile game. Shigure Akito's eyes lit up and he took a deep breath. This 1v1 duel will determine whether he can get the subsequent novice benefits. The difficulty of obtaining the slam basketball player is currently unknown. Like the novice benefits, a free start, and the difficulty of giving players away just by winning a 1v1 game, it is estimated that if you miss it, you will not have it again. In order to get a perfect start, he must show his full strength to ensure victory. Chapter 5. Second year, second grade soldier, Ichikairo. First grade, Shigure Akito. Seeing that Shigure Akito's attitude was quite good, Ichikairo breathed a sigh of relief. He was afraid that he would meet the kind of difficult junior that Nijimura built just now. Phew! The backcourt team on the sideline throws the ball to Shigure Akito. On the opposite side, Ichikairo bent his legs slightly at the same time and assumed a defensive posture. Toot! With the whistle, Shigure Akito's 1v1 test begins. The opening posture of Shigure Akito is similar to that of Nijimura's Shuzo. They both start with a triple threat. At the same time, they carefully pay attention to the opponent's defensive status and take corresponding actions in time. When he observed the opponent's defense and that the distance between him and himself was about 1.5 steps, Shigure Akito couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Normally, first-year junior high school players are in the stage of learning various skills. They really won't develop much in long-range shots such as three-pointers, but this point can only be applied to ordinary players. Shigure Akito, who is currently initiated by Hideyuka technique, is obviously not included in this list. This kind of defense is not very good. Whoosh! Skills from Hideyuka. Stand firm and soft 3 points. Standing soft 3-pointer, stand outside the 3-point line and be ready to shoot. At the moment of catching or holding the ball, directly shoot a soft and fast shot. Don't underestimate people, people from the Second Army. Senior Ichikairo, who was originally focused on defensive breakthroughs and ignored Shigure Akito's words, was shocked when he saw his opponent's starting movement, and then rushed forward to defend. However, Shigure Akito's standing soft three-pointer is basically the same as a flip shot. The release speed is very fast, and it feels extremely soft without losing speed. At the beginning, 1 step and a half, by the time Ichiro used all his strength to pounce, Shigure Akito had already thrown the ball, and there was no time to block it. Tomokazu Hidero, who is good at shooting, makes Shigure Akito's three-point shooting attribute as high as 105, although it is not yet known what level it corresponds to. But comparing it to the pitiful 50 of its own strength, this 105 must be a very high level. Therefore, Shigure Akito was confident enough to hit a three-pointer with little interference, and as expected. Hey! The three-pointer hit the net. Seeing this, Shigure Akito's pupil shrank, because the shooting feeling just now was so great. He subconsciously looked at his hands, and then couldn't help but smile. Maybe it will be fun to start over with a new gear. Off the field. Shigure Akito's good friend Shinji Karina widened his eyes because of Shigure's shot just now. As a long-time playing partner, this was the first time he saw Shigure's shot. This guy Chu Ren. When did you secretly practice new shots? And so fast, so accurate. On the field. Shigure Akito's opponent, Ichijiro, nodded solemnly, lowered his eyes and said to himself, such a decisive and crisp three-point long shot. I see, it's the same as the construction of Hongcun just now. This year's new students are extraordinary. In this case, you can't treat him like a first-year player. We must fight as an opponent of an army. After Shigure Akito scored, the offense and defense of both sides changed sides. Ichijiro takes the ball and pays close attention to the movement of Shigure Akito's defensive footsteps. First, they took a test step in the triple threat state. Unexpectedly, compared to the previous offense, Shigure Akito's defense seemed to have many loopholes. Immediately, the waist sank down, stepped forward with the left foot, and broke through with the ball. In this attack, he did not underestimate Shigure Akito at all and used all his strength to attack. But when Ichiro broke through and landed the ball, the moment he broke through to Shigure Akito's side, suddenly, he felt that his hands were empty. After realizing what happened, Ichiro turned around violently. Sure enough, he saw Shigure Akito intercept the ball at some point. Damn it! When was the ball broken? At this time, outside the court, a group of coaches and players holding rating sheets were observing and taking detailed records while discussing among themselves in low voices. This newcomer is very powerful. He has excellent shooting and stealing abilities. He can make achievements in both offense and defense. He may be the type who can immediately develop immediate combat effectiveness. What about the body side data? High speed. But the strength and jumping are average. After carefully observing a few more rounds, Shigure Akito's skills are not as thorough as Nijimura's just now. Shigure Akito's offensive round. He doesn't need to think too much about offensive methods. In order to get the mission rewards smoothly, there is no need to hide the skills that can be used. Just say hello to them all. What you are pursuing is a stable victory. As for developing playing styles and integrating skills, that is not what he should do now. Immediately, Shigure Akito did not play a triple threat in this ball. Faced with Ichichihiro's defense against his three-pointer, he dropped the ball directly and showed excellent ball control ability on the court. Ichijiro's defensive distance is closer than before. Even if Shigure Akito gave up the three-point threat and switched to possession of the ball outside the three-point line, he did not relax the control of the defensive distance at all. At this time, Shigure Akito suddenly made a breakthrough while controlling the ball. Ichikairo reacted in time and got close. But the next second, Shigure Akito performed a set of cross-step feints, and then used the signature skill of Go De Yuka, the Mochizuki retreat. Snap! Snap! With two sudden and rapid dribbling sounds. Shigure Akito's figure, which had already entered the three-point line, seemed to be suddenly pressed to accelerate, and in the blink of an eye, it had retreated back to the three-point line again. From Ichikiro's point of view, he had just caught up with the opponent's cross-step breakthrough. The next moment, the figure suddenly flew away quickly from a distance. It's like skating on ice. In the field of vision, the figure has already raised the ball to shoot. Air. It was quiet for a moment. Left. There was only a crisp sound, the sound of a basketball hitting the net. Chapter 6. Off the field. Many newcomers stared in shock, especially Kurono Shinji and Fukei Reiji. Black name Shinji was shocked by his friend's sudden improvement in strength after a holiday. As for Luha's brother Reiji Fukei, he is even more aware of how difficult it is to be able to complete such a level of retreat during a cross-step breakthrough that is already very technical. The retreat speed did not slow down, but suddenly increased. There is still distance to retreat. As a player who is also good at shooting, at that moment, he was shocked all over. This man is just like Hongcun Zaihuzeo just now, he is also very strong. Are they actually in the first grade too? Hello. Speaking of which, you are not as strong as them, are you? How can it be? This kind of person must be only a minority, an exception, the only one, right? Amidst the whispers, Supervisor Platinum, who was originally standing in Field 1 observing the construction of Hongcun, slowly walked to the middle of Field 1 and Field 3. It is clear. In these two offensive and defensive rounds, Shigure Akito was upgraded in his mind. At the same time, in the atmosphere of being calmed by Shigure Akito, the rapid sound of the ball coming from court number 1 was clearly highlighted. Shigure Akito turned his head and looked subconsciously. In court number 1, it is the offensive round of the second army players at this moment. Judging from his offensive moves, his dribbling skills are very skillful. In terms of strength, he is definitely worthy of the members of the second army. After controlling the ball with several consecutive shifts of focus, he suddenly turned around and passed the impatient Nijimura Shuzo. However, the explosive speed under Nijimura Shuzo's feet allowed him to easily keep up with the opponent. Judging from the unwavering expression and the relaxed pursuit posture, it was obvious that there was something wrong with Hongcun, who had just been passed so easily. And this is indeed the case. Nijimura, who half closed his eyes, followed him to the basket. In Shigure Akito's field of vision, this guy looked completely uninterested. In fact, when he saw the opponent's attack on the basket, Nijimura Shuzo clearly showed a speechless and even disdainful expression. And the other side. After entering the penalty area, the member of the second team couldn't help but show joy when facing the unguarded basket in front of him. He accelerated towards the basket and jumped high. The newcomer kid had deducted 1 before, and he had to pay back 1. Just use his physical ability that he has trained diligently for a year. Let you see what a dunk is. Bang! He jumped with his left foot, stepped heavily on the court, stretched out one arm, and a little split dunk was ready. However, he just jumped up. The next second, I was pushed back again. It came from a black shadow that suddenly flew over from behind him. When that hand reached out from behind and pressed on the ball in his hand, the second army member felt as if he was being clamped by the throat of fate. The whole person froze in mid-air, unable to move. Then, he dribbles the ball. Crash! Phew! The basketball was slapped far away by Nijimura Shuzo. By coincidence, it fell into the hands of Shigure Akito, who was watching the show in court number 3. This made Shigure Akito slightly stunned. The fan is so far away. Is this the power that freshmen in the first grade of junior high school can have? No matter what, it's too science fiction. And not only the strength, the defense just now was also terrifying in terms of speed and height. If the actual look and feel of the Nijitsunobu builds in national IR of this level, then what will it be like if next year's generation of miracles faces them head-on? However, here Shigure Akito is shocked by Nijimura's ability. 1 minute later, Nijimura Shuzo also looked at Shigure Akito in Field 3 with wide eyes. Court number 3. The second team's Ichiro Jichiro barely got rid of Shigure Akito's steal in the previous attack, but in the subsequent attack, he missed the shot due to Shigure Akito's 80 interference. Ichijiro walked to the top of the three-point arc without saying a word to prepare for the next defense. This time, he was one step closer to Shigure Akito. After determining that the opponent's specialty was shooting, he focused more defensive attention on blocking shots in order to block Shigure Akito's score. We must guard against him. If not. Although this is an entrance test for newcomers, if you don't perform well, then this 1v1 may turn into an assessment for yourself. At this moment, Shigure Akito was a little dazed holding the ball at the top of the three-point arc. Because of his ultimate move, I don't know when he will have accumulated enough energy. Ultimate move freeze moment, a quick forward breakthrough, and after an instant freeze, a large retreat will definitely knock down any opponent within the range who can be knocked down. The next second, Shigure Akito faced Ichijiro and used the freeze moment without hesitation. Ichijiro's defense is very strict, but in front of the open Shigure Akito, at this moment, he can clearly feel that the opponent's defense is as fragile as a candle that flickers and goes out as soon as he blows it. Off the field, including scoring another goal, Nijimura Shuzo looked bored during the change of serve. Everyone only saw Shigure Akito break through to Ichijiro's side with a set of extremely skillful passing moves at lightning speed. Then the next second, Shigure Akito's movements seemed to have been pressed on pause. During the high-speed dribbling process, the movements suddenly froze. Phew! The sound of breaking wind. After finishing the freeze action in an instant, Shigure Akito's figure gradually moved away, while Ichijiro's field of vision gradually decreased until it was parallel to Shigure Akito's knees. Ichijiro. Not good. Bang. One but, sit down firmly. Under everyone's dumbfounded gaze, Ichijiro got knocked down. Chapter 7. Shigure-san's move is too strong. The senior from the Second Army is completely unable to defend now. He actually fell down. Courtside, there was a lot of chatter among the newcomers who were nervously waiting for the test. On the field, Ichijiro, who was knocked to the ground by Shigure Akito, looked confused. And on the other side, Nijimura Shuzo put away the impatience on his face, and looked at Shigure Akito, who made a shooting motion and hit another three-pointer, with a trace of solemnity in his eyes. Phew! The smooth and fast three-pointer flew across the half-court. The members of the Second Army all stared at the ball that drew a beautiful arc in the air, secretly hoping not to throw it in. Unfortunately, this ball, as expected, hit again. Reiji Fukuya, who was in the rookie team, had already concluded that the ball would definitely go in the moment he saw the trajectory. Before the ball went in, he said, "It went in again, what a beautiful shot." Black name Shinji, who was not far in front of him, saw that the ball hit as he said, so he couldn't help but turn his head to look at him, and the latter quietly turned his head away because of the opponent's gaze. Black name Shinji. This guy. Since you have the strength, then be more confident. Whack. In court number 3, after Shigure Akito's offensive round ended, everyone turned their attention to court number 1 in unison. At this time, Nijimura Shuzo's opponent had the same expression on his face as Ichijiro just now. Even worse, Ichijiro, who was shaken, was at a loss. The second-place player in Field 1 looked dull at the moment. Why? I can clearly break through his defense, but why do I get blocked every time in the blink of an eye? How could his speed and reactions be so fast? Could it be? Did he intentionally let himself into the penalty area and then block the shot? Didn't his extraordinary moves delay him at all? This guy? Are you kidding me? Nijimura Shuzo's opponent fell into deep self-doubt, and his eyes were already wavering. See this? Hongcun Zaihuzeo couldn't help but sneered. It's really. That's so clear, idiot. The gap between offense and defense in the penalty area was visible to the naked eye from the first goal. Taking advantage of this, he laid down such a simple trap and plowed in. Senior's self-esteem? Ah! Arrogant trash. The content of the next game in Game 1 gradually turned ugly as Nijimura Shuzo's opponent's heart was broken. A moment later, when Niji Kungziu scored another dunk, the new recruits entered the team for a test, and the first member of the second army to be defeated was revealed. 1v1 with 21 points system. The score on the court at this moment is a terrifying 22:0. Hongcun released the rim and dropped it. The basketball bounced off the ground. Hongcun casually threw it away from the court with the back of his hand. At the same time, he said to the director of Platinum Kozo. Boring. Is this okay? As promised, I'm joining your basketball club. Outside the court, everyone looked at Hongcun's figure. His fierce offensive and defensive posture on the court just now was still difficult to erase in everyone's minds. The members of the Second Army, who had a bad start, were in particularly complicated moods. There is absolutely no power to fight back. This man is different. I heard from the seniors of Ikohun that during the summer vacation, Supervisor Platinum did not even attend the training. His main job was to persuade this man and bring him to Teikō. With this kind of strength, no wonder. You have to go all out. Otherwise, it will be a big joke if you are demoted to the 3 armed forces because of a new recruit test. It shouldn't be the case, right? The construction of this kind in Hongcun is just special. The second army member who spoke last suddenly stopped talking when his eyes glanced at Shigure Akito on field 3. Yes. It's just a first-round rookie. 2 monsters, Shuzo Nijimura and Shigure Akito, have already appeared. Who knows if there will be any monsters among the newcomers later. We have to be more cautious. At this time, on the third court, the second army member was left speechless. The score on the court was 21:0. Ichikairo, who was also beaten to the point of mental breakdown, did not pose any threat to Shigure Akito in the follow-up. Defensively, compared to Shuzo Nijimura, Shigure Akito's strength is naturally a big weakness, but his 85 steals and 80 interference are enough for him to complete 0 blocks against players of the same level as the second army. Although the defensive scene is far less explosive than Hongcun Zaihuzu. But offensively, Shigure Akito's super firepower with 7 3-pointers, as well as the movement control skills that occasionally stun or knock down opponents, the explosive level is completely comparable to the violent competition content played by Nijimura Shuzo. In this way, followed by Field 1, the second defeated member of the Second Army appeared. And in the last fresh moment, Shigure Akito was knocked to the ground by another freeze moment filled with energy. The current mission of Road to Glory has been completed. In the 1v1 test of Teikō joining the club, if you successfully defeat a member of the Second Army, you will receive the subsequent novice benefits, 2 halves, and a random player with ordinary data from Slam Dunk mobile game. Newbie benefits, 2 halves, loading. Acquired normal data player Kiyota Nobunaga. Player attributes have been updated. Chapter 8. Name, Shigure Akito. Position, points, small forward. School, Teikō Junior High. Height, 176. Offensive attributes. Near shot, 80. CIC, 105. 3 points, 105. Dunk, 5299. Layup, 6096. Common attributes. Transmission control, 95. Strength, 5078. Anti-interference, 7078. Bounce, 62100. Run, 8587. Dribble, 7577. Defensive attribute. Rebounds, 6088. Blocks, 6086. Interference, 80. Steals, 85. Unlocked slam dunk players, normal data player Yu Kazuo, normal data player Kiyota Nobunaga. Udayuka skills, Mochizuki retreats, standing soft 3-pointer, breakthrough soft shooting, full acceleration, blocking pass and interception, ultimate move, freeze moment. Kiyota Nobunaga skills, flying block, sudden retreat, layup, full acceleration, dunk, monkey jump, ultimate move, reverse back dunk. After acquiring the new Slam Dunk mobile player, Shigure Akito's attributes were updated again, and he also understood the system's attribute rules from this update. Simply put, it was after acquiring multiple Slam Dunk mobile game players. Each item in the personal attributes is the highest value compared with the Slam Dunk mobile game players. Thanks to this rule too. Of course, there is also a certain amount of luck. The two players released by the newbie welfare, Yuka Ude and Kiyota Nobunaga, their attributes are simply perfect complements, and the attributes they are good at rarely overlap. Suddenly, Shigure Akito's attributes have reached a rather versatile field. While Shigure Akito was dazed because of the system, Nijimura Shuzo on the other side had already walked off the court with a cold expression. Listening to the newcomers talking about him and another guy on the sidelines, Hongcun Chiajiao felt quite uncomfortable in this kind of attention. At the same time, comparing him with the other guy made him feel even more unhappy. Although he was not interested in joining the Teikō basketball club, it was definitely not because of basketball, but more because of the old man Shirogane Kozo. On basketball, to be honest, it's not just peers. Even with the so-called First Army, he didn't think he would lose. So strong, these two are too strong. The seniors of the Second Army were completely defeated by the two of them. If you put it this way, aren't they strong enough to join the First Army? That's right. However, the First Army's examination will not be judged so simply on a 1v1 basis, right? The two of them have very extreme playing styles. One has a defensive style of violent blocking, and his offense is all about attacking the basket. The other's defense is good at stealing and interference, and his offense is all about 3-pointers. I wonder who is stronger between the two of them. For this, not only the newcomers and members of the Second Army at the scene were curious. The same is true for Teikō's assistant coaches who are responsible for observing and recording, but the decision maker still depends on Director Platinum. I feel that the members of the Second Army have not been able to show their full strength. Do you want to call the members of the First Army? Director Platinum. Platinum Genzo shook his head. At the level of an army, it's completely meaningless to only fight 1v1. And isn't that just right? Shirogane Kozo pointed at Nijimura Kozo and then at Shigure Akito. It is not easy to find such a magnificent rough stone, but I did not expect that there would be an unexpected surprise. In this case, two appeared at once. After a while, testing for new recruits is still going on. And the First Army coach Naoto Sanada suddenly came to Shigure Akito. Shigure Akito's impression of this middle-aged man with glasses is that he was completely ignored by Akashi Sejuro when he later took over as director after Platinum Director fell ill. It was also from that time that Generation of Miracles' outlook on basketball took a turn for the worse. But in fact, judging from the impression just now, this uncle is undoubtedly a hardline person with a cold face. But in front of the second personality Akashi Sejuro and the talented Generation of Miracles, under the high pressure that was difficult to control, he obviously did not fight to the end. From the moment he opened the door for the first blooming Amine to not be used for training, this guy has no ability to supervise at all. But there is nothing we can do. Who told this guy to have no color in his name? In Teikō, being a coach comes with a color, even if it's just a name. Thinking of this, Shigure Akito shook his head slightly. Naoto Sanada. This Shigure Akito. What did that pity look mean just now? Did you see it wrong? Naoto Sanada didn't dwell too much because he had more important things to say now. Shigure Akito, wait a minute, you need to play an extra game. The next main thing to examine is your qualifications to join the First Army. Use all your strength. Shigure Akito raised an eyebrow, because he had already seen that not far across the way, Supervisor Platinum was also talking to Nijimura Shuzo. The latter. His expression was impatient at first. Then his expression softened for a moment and he looked over to him. That moment. Although there was no change in Nijimura Shuzo's expression, Shigure Akito could clearly feel the coldness in the other person's eyes, as if he was choosing someone to eat. Chapter 9. Soon. Shigure Akito and Nijimura Shuzo took to the court. In Shigure Akito's view, when Nijimura Shuzo was looking at him, although he looked as fierce as a hunting beast, there was probably no excitement in his eyes, and there was only the confidence that he was accustomed to winning. Built by Hongcun. At this time, Hongcun Zaihuzeo suddenly spoke up. Shigure Akito was stunned for a moment, and after realizing that the other party was introducing himself, he blurted out. Shigure Akito. Off the field. A smile appeared on the corner of Shirogane Genzo's mouth. He clearly remembered that when he had just faced off with the Second Army, the kid from Hongcun didn't have such a ceremonious self-introduction. The other side. Newcomers and members of the Second Army. Quietly approaching the direction of the site where Shigure Akito and Nijimura built the building, whispers could be heard among the crowd. It's really coming, the showdown between these two monster newcomers. Whatever you say comes from. Forehead. I'm a little nervous for no reason. Yeah, obviously I was just watching from the sidelines, but you just saw what kind of monster-level strength they are. In order to prevent the duel between the two from affecting other ongoing entrance tests, this round was changed from 21 points to 11 points. Don't underestimate the influence of the two. Just look at the other players and assistant coaches looking over here and you will know how eye-catching this matchup is. Courtside. Naoto Sanada handed the ball to Shigure Akito. At the same time, he personally blew the whistle to start the game. On the field. Nijimura Shuzo looked at Shigure Akito with stern eyes. I hope you can be more restrained and not be like that waste just now. Shigure Akito. This guy. He cannot be regarded as the later Captain Nijimura at all. Compared with Haizaki, although his personality is less pure and bad, he is much more aggressive. No wonder the Teikō player he paid most attention to later was Haizaki Shogo. It's like seeing your old self, right? Shigure Akito grabbed the ball with both hands, and the updated attributes made him feel a new world. At this moment, he could clearly feel that his whole body was full of elasticity. Looking towards the basket. A pinch between fingers. The basketball spun twice in the palm of the other side. Me too. I'm looking forward to the thrill of confrontation. I hope your defense won't be like the Second Army just now, like paper. Built by Hongcun. After hearing Shigure Akito's words, Nijimura Shuzo's expression froze for a moment, and then, his iceberg-like face revealed the first melting smile of the day. Papery. The description is very accurate. This guy. Shigure Akito starts in a triple threat stance. Through previous observations of Hongcun Zaihuzu, he knew that Hongcun Zaihuzu's defense would be very strong. This was something he had already expected in his heart. But face the defense built by Nijimura. He has two sets of new attributes and abilities combined into one, and he is still very confident about this. The most critical thing. Although the system did not pop up the task prompt like just now. But that's most likely because all the newbie benefits have been received. No matter how you think about it, if you can defeat a key plot character like Nijimura Shuzo, you should get some gold coins or something, right? And I have to admit that after acquiring new attributes and abilities, and then having a duel on the court, Shigure Akito is gradually getting a little carried away. The whole person is completely immersed in the game, or the world of basketball. This moment, Shigure Akito, the one to face off is the future Captain Rainbow, built by Nijimura. Bang! 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 Even Shigure Akito can clearly hear the excitement coming from his heart. On the field, Nijimura's defense was exactly the same as that of Ichihiro in the previous second team, which was more than one step away. If it was Ichihiro, Shigure Akito would definitely punish him directly with shooting without mercy. But the person in front of him was replaced by Hongcun Zaihuzeo. Even with this level of defensive distance, the defensive pressure on Shigure Akito's shots is not at the same level as Ichihiro's. Because the defensive pace built by Hongcun is not generally fast. After all, this guy can intentionally let people into the penalty area. Then he easily caught up with the guy who blocked the shot. But in other words, Nijimura Shuzo can take into account Shigure Akito's shooting and breakthrough at the same time with such a safe distance, which shows that he has become more serious compared to the previous duel. After watching Nijimura Shuzo's game content, Shigure Akito no longer considered using the standing soft three-pointer or the more advanced Mochizuki retreat to follow the standing soft three-pointer. Because it is obvious that with the speed and blocking height of Nijimura Shuzo, this fixed pattern that has been seen before will most likely be interfered with even if it will not be blocked. Immediately. Pa. 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 A probing step from the triple threat stance, Shigure Akito broke through directly. The first goal in the game, in order to break through Nijimura's defense, was a Mochizuki retreat disguised as a Mochizuki retreat. Wudaiahi Mochizuki retreat, pretend to break forward, and suddenly perform the Mochizuki retreat through cross steps. Kyata Nobunaga retreat and burst, step back to accumulate strength, burst out with super speed in an instant, and break through the opponent forward again. Chapter 10. Shigure Akito's three-threat breakthrough was not unexpectedly blocked by Nijimura, who had reserved defensive space. But Pa. 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 Shigure Akito's ball control moves faster and faster after pulling horizontally. Along with the transformation in front of the body, the basketball fell continuously and hit the ground with a series of snapping sounds, which made the hearts of the players watching the game tighten. Hongcun Zaihuzeo's expression remained unchanged and he observed calmly. A triple threat start at the beginning. The position of entry. The step back that Shigure Akito is good at. Distance. Nijimura Shuzo quickly made a judgment, Shigure Akito will take action next. Pa. Really? Cross-step breakthrough. Hongcun Zaihuzeo. This ball will be a feint, and what follows is a step back that suddenly speeds up and has a wide range. Tisk. As Shigure Akito quickly retreated from the three-point line, Nijimura Shuzo's movements followed closely. Compared with Shigure Akito's previous opponent, Nijimura's follow-up speed and vague prediction should not be too obvious compared to the second-ranked Ichihiro. Mochizuki retreated, but was followed. Outside the court, everyone, whether they were newcomers or members of the second team, stared closely at the defense built by Nijimura and were secretly surprised by it. Shigure Akito's signature moves were followed immediately. Previously Ichihiro was unable to solve the problem in the whole game. There's no way. It's just a difference in speed, but the speed built by Nijimura is almost the same as Shigure Akito's retreat speed. Is there any mistake? Can a first grader be this strong? In the crowd, Reiji Fukuya frowned slightly and whispered to himself, "No, there is no way to solve this ball with a three-pointer. I am afraid that under Nijimura Shuzo's defense, the follow-up will not work." Nijimura builds this kind of speed and reflexes, as well as the shot blocking height he has shown before. It will block the three-point shot that Shigure Akito is best at. But this is also the limitation of pure shooters. Even though Shigure Akito is not that simple a shooter and has the ability to control his movement independently to open up space, the essence of using shooting as a scoring method has not changed. At this time, Looking at Nijimura Shuzo who was following him, Shigure Akito couldn't help but reveal a smile on his face. After Wang Yu retreated. Accumulated. Retreat instantly. The energy he had accumulated when he retreated suddenly exploded with super speed, and he broke forward again. This breakthrough speed was almost exactly the same as Mochizuki's extreme speed when he retreated. Hongcun Zaihuzeo. Coming. He just knew it. This person won't be as stupid as the idiot just now. Phew. In the sound of breaking wind in my ears. In Nijimura Shuzo's field of vision, at the moment when he finished his retreat, Shigure Akito suddenly bent his knees and accelerated forward, and his figure suddenly disappeared from his sight. No. Vision is not completely lost. At least I could still catch Shigure Akito in my peripheral vision. Courtside. Platinum Gengjeo saw a more vivid-looking Hongcun Genzu. This moment. He had to sigh. Luck is so amazing. The appearance of Shigure Akito is really a perfect fate. On the field. Shigure Akito's sudden snap back gave him a positional lead, but Shigure Akito frowned dissatisfied. Because the first time this move was used in a surprise attack, the lead created was not as big as he imagined. The defense that Hongcun built just now almost predictably started at the same time as him, and even started in advance. In an instant. The speed of the two was equally astonishing. First Army coach Naoto Sanada couldn't help but his eyes widened, and his face, which had always been serious and tense, showed shock at this moment of offense and defense. And Shigure Akito's good friend, Shinji Karina, once again refreshed his understanding of Shigure Akito's strength in his heart today. The previous Shigure Akito, although not weak, was definitely not exaggerated to this extent. With step back as the core, extraordinary speed. And that superb three-point shot. Black name Shinji. You told me it was the onset of puberty? Are you kidding me? This guy Akito. You must have done some special training without telling yourself during the holiday, right? But then again, what kind of special training can be so strong that it can make a person reborn like a new person? The other side. Fukei Reiji looked stunned. I thought Shigure Akito would be blocked by Nijimura Shuzo. But he didn't expect that Shigure Akito would hide his strength after playing a game with the players from the Second Army. At least this move was as fast as his signature retreat step. He had never used it even once just now. And so fast. Obviously the top speed can reach this level. But apart from dribbling movements that focus on stepping back, Shigure Akito has never shown such speed at all. Is it a deliberate layout? Or Shigure Akito's retreat technique has a unique speed increasing technique? But at this time, Fukei Reiji had no time to think about it. Because Shigure Akito on the field, even after achieving this level, was still kept up by Nijimura Shuzo, if he had read it correctly just now. Nijimura's defense was a successful prediction, even if it was the first time Shigure Akito used this move. Hongcun construction. Essentially. It turns out to be a style of calm observation and judgment. Chapter 11. Blocking in front of him, that high wall called talent, what kind of scenery will it be on the other side of the wall? Fukei Reiji saw the duel between two peers, Shigure and Nijimura. Suddenly it was clear and understood. Only. After realizing that I was thinking about this kind of thing negatively again. Fukei Reiji immediately shook his head. If Coach Katsunori Takuchi knew about it, he would probably punish himself for running laps again. However, I have already been promoted to junior high school. Pity. On the field. Nijimura's defense has leaned on Shigure Akito. But as far as the eye could see, Shigure Akito, who had already stepped into the attack range, became more confident, and couldn't help but reveal an excited smile again on his face. And Nijimura saw Shigure Akito's smile. My heart is filled with disgust. Because it always reminds him of the group of guys who were still smiling after being defeated by him in the park stadium. Stop pretending, Shigure Akito. Come over and see. Nijimura's build came to an abrupt end when Shigure Akito suddenly took off in the paint. At this point, it's not just Hongcun. All the other newcomers and members of the Second Army were also stunned. Because judging from the distance of the jump, it is still quite far away from the basket. If you jump from here to attack the basket, if you can succeed, what level of bounce will it be? Bang! On the field. There was a muffled sound. Shigure Akito takes off with all his strength on one leg, reaching full strength. Up! Shigure Akito's first basket attack. What will it be like? It can't be a slam dunk like Nijimura. It's impossible. It's an exaggeration that Nijimura, Shuzo and Kuniki can dunk. If Shigure Akito can take off and dunk from this position, even the third-year seniors of Ikahun may not be able to do it. Shigure Akito and Nijimura Shuzo jumped up almost at the same time, and the gap in position was almost evened out. Due to his size, Shigure Akito was still unable to catch the ball with one hand, so he turned slightly sideways and grabbed the ball with both hands on the side away from Nijimura. Nijimura tried his best to block Shigure's eyes. But soon, Hongcun Zaihuzeo was shocked to find out. When his jumping height reached the limit, Shigure Akito, who was aiming at the basket with eyes wide open, was still rising. You can't even touch it yourself. This is the first time. Among peers, I lost height. Kyoto Nobunaga dunk, jump up and complete a personal dunk that exceeds his size. The next second. Boom. Bounce 100. Dunk 99. With a height of 176 centimeters, Shigure Akito completed a super dunk with a slight glide. This moment. In the quiet arena, it was like being hit by a cannonball. After the basketball was poured into the basket by Shigure Akito, it fell to the ground through the net and flew high after being hit. Close to the bottom line. A Teikō player who was responsible for recording the performance on the field was looking at the fallen Shigure Akito. Seeing this scene at such a close distance made him stunned. First grade? Damn first grade! What a terrible slam dunk! Opposite him, Shigure Akito was still extremely excited after his first slam dunk in his life. The excitement was even stronger than gaining the system and attributes. The silence around him is caused by him. There was total silence at this moment. Extremely refreshing. Ha! Call. Sci-fi basketball. It's really great here. The excitement of a successful dunk for the first time is hard to resist for any player. Shigure Akito wanted to control his expression and stop himself. But at the moment when the brain was thinking like this, it was completely uncontrollable and built towards Hongcun. Turned his head. Come on. You almost guarded me. Hongcun Zaihuzeo. Day. 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 As Shigure Akito blurted out the words, the atmosphere in the arena once again darkened, leaving only the sound of the basketball bouncing back and forth on the court with its energy still lingering on the ground. Everyone looked at Shigure Akito blankly, and then looked at Nijimura Shuzo with worried expressions, fearing that this newcomer with a rather violent style on the court would not be able to control himself and attack the opponent after hearing such taunting words. At the same time, on everyone's mind, still emerging, the scene where Shigure Akito was almost separated from Nijimura's building just now is still emerging. Perhaps. Are worries unnecessary? Shigure Akito, who was thought to be a technical shooter, seems to be on par with Shuzo Nijimura in terms of violence. A slam dunk of this level would actually appear in a first-year rookie test. This was unexpected by everyone. Especially the several assistant coaches and players who were previously responsible for recording physical ability tests, their hands were flying at the moment, frantically picking at the information in their hands. However, no matter how you look at it, several people compared each other. The final results are from the physical ability test just now. Shigure Akito only received a C-level evaluation in terms of jumping ability. Facing the murderous gaze of Naoto Sanada, the coach of the First Army, several people looked at each other. Coach Sanada. The test results are correct. Perhaps Shigure Akito is the type who likes to hide his strength. Chapter 12. In his previous life, he was used to imitating NBA players' trash talk in the wild. Driven by his excitement, he couldn't control it at all. As soon as the trash talk came out of his mouth, Shigure Akito regretted it. Because he clearly remembered that Shuzo Nijimura was very good at karate, and the person in front of him was the person who trained Hizaki Shogo like a good dog in junior high school. Thinking of Hizaki Shogo's bad character. Who knows what he went through in the hands of Hongcun to be able to be tamed so well behaved? Presumably. It must have been an extremely painful realization. Shigure Akito doesn't want to experience it again. Immediately. He showed what he thought was a friendly smile to Niji-kun Chiuzao, trying to infect the other person with his kindness. However, he never expected that this smile would be more provocative in Hongcun Chiuzao's eyes. Shigure Akito. Forward. Do you feel that Nijimura Shuzo's eyes have become more fierce? After Shigure Akito scored, he handed the ball back. In the current offensive round that Nijimura built, it can be seen that the opponent's desire to attack is quite strong. A shooting fake in a triple threat position, plus continuous probing steps. Shigure Akito's scalp was numb from being hit. This technical move is simple to perform, but someone who can really use it to this extent is simply a devil. In terms of technology alone, Hongcun Zaiuzwo is really terrible. Shigure Akito defended carefully. He imagined that he could compete with Nijimura based on his stealing attribute, but he really thought too much. The opponent didn't give him a chance to get close at all. The timing is perfect. Once there is any approaching action. Immediately, with a probing step, he was forced back. Action. Fast and realistic. While Shigure Akito is completely afraid to grab the ball, he must also be careful not to retreat too far. Once he retreats too far, he may be ordered by Nijimura's shooting fake in the next second. For a while, Shigure Akito is stuck. It was as if he was being held in place by Nijimura Shuzo, working hard to maintain this dangerous defensive balance between sudden shots. But the good thing is, barely holding on. Nijimura Shuzo's sharp eyes fell on Shigure Akito and kept looking around. The reason why his three-threat offense is so strong depends entirely on careful observation and judgment honed on the field. This comes from the gap in experience. And Shigure Akito. Currently, even though he has good attributes and the skills of several slam dunk mobile game players, those skills are too gamey. Mochizuki's retreat is very strong. The standing soft three-pointer is also very strong. Including other skills acquired, they are not weak, but fixed and rigid. As a player, apart from these skills, Shigure Akito's skills actually have quite a few gaps, relying only on his experience in his previous life. For example, the current defensive skills of focusing on details. At this time, Nijimura Shuzo's eyes narrowed, and he caught Shigure Akito's flaw in his eyes. Ah! Can you still laugh now? Shigure Akito. A small breakthrough on the right, followed by a quick disguise, pulled the ball back from behind to his left hand. Snap! Breakthrough, emergency stop. Shigure Akito's expression suddenly changed. Full acceleration, the belief in winning allows him to accelerate at a faster speed, without the ball. After being fixed, even if he could forcefully keep up with Wudaiahi full acceleration, the defense this time was actually passive and inferior. Pa! 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 The dribbling center built by Hongcun has a wide range of center of gravity adjustment, and the movements are practical and smooth. Cross step to the left. Half turn. Change hands. Crotch. Pulling horizontally in front of the body in disguise. The aftermath of falling into passivity was that Shigure Akito was shaken violently by Nijimura's dazzling technique, until there was a muffled sound of bang. What Hongcun is best at building. In the super technique, there are physical confrontations, the scene is very violent, and the core is very delicate. Shigure Akito staggered and was almost brought down. In the end, he relied on his attributes to hold on. But obviously, out of position, Shigure Akito had no time to stop Nijimura Shuzo's next move. Taking advantage of Shigure Akito's loss of balance, Nijimura took the ball towards the penalty area without hesitation. Black hair flying. Flashed past Shigure's side. Bang! Rush to the basket. Jump up. However, Shigure Akito was indeed powerless to stop Nijimura Shuzo's breakthrough. But this doesn't mean that he can't stop Nijimura from attacking the basket, especially a dunk that requires a higher starting height and takes more time. Monkey hop. Then, the flying man blocks the shot. Kyoto Nobunaga monkey jump, agile movements like a monkey, allowing him to jump a big step ahead. Kyoto Nobunaga flying block, super jumping ability, allowing him to jump high to block shots like a flying man. A set of blocking combos. Shigure Akito was suddenly pulled in by Nijimura's breakthrough. Follow. Explode and ignite. The height and speed of the flyer's shot were like riding on a rocket. Everyone at the scene was stunned when they saw it. Snap! In the eyes of everyone's shock. Directly hit the ball on the backboard. Boom! Under inertia. Shigure Akito almost pushed Nijimura against the basket to support him. Then, in the moment of adrenaline surge, the old habit happened again. Didn't you eat? Grasshoppers can jump higher than you. Chapter 13. Seeing Shigure Akito's amazing block, the scene was silent for a while, followed by bursts of exclamation. In fact, Nijimura Shuzo's performance was also very strong on the ball just now. Until Shigure Akito suddenly broke out to block the shot, the offensive rhythm was suppressing the opponent. But Shigure Akito's dunk and block were too explosive. Comparing the two, it is easy to ignore the process. Which one is stronger and which one is weaker has already been distinguished in the sound of the dunk and the muffled sound of the block. This guy can jump so high. Except for watching a high school IH final, this is the first time I've seen such a player, and he's even just a freshman. The explosive jump step and the final block height completely made up for the gap created by Nijimura's breakthrough when the defense was broken. Too horrible. Where did this guy come from? Off the field. First Army coach Naoto Sanada looked at supervisor Shirogane Kozo without hesitating to speak. He knew very well how much his supervisor had worked this summer to get Nijimura Shuzo to join Teikō, but to be honest, he was puzzled by it until he saw Nijimura Shuzo's strength with his own eyes. After all, in terms of stereotypes, no matter how talented he is just a first-year freshman. It has never happened in Teikō's history that a wealthy supervisor like Teikō personally invites a first-year freshman to join the team. At most, he only sends a coach responsible for player selection. But after seeing the construction of Hongcun, he had to admit it. This is a genius beyond the ordinary sense. The most valuable thing among them is not the natural physical ability, but the sophistication and comprehensiveness that at this age, the skills far exceed those of junior high school students. Especially excluding the violent elements of charming eye, it's essentially analyzing the opponent's weaknesses. Style of play is as calm and reliable as a rock. This is a player who perfectly fits Teikō's needs and can serve as the cornerstone of the team for the next 3 years. However, Naoto Sanada turned to look at Shigure Akito on the court. The same goes for this newcomer. Although it is more comprehensive than Hongcun's in terms of ability, and can intuitively see its flaws, its strengths are actually too strong, and can even make up for or even surpass all shortcomings. At least according to Naoto Sanada. This is a genius whose talent is still above that of Hongcun. Thinking of this, he glanced at Supervisor Platinum again. The players who worked so hard to invite were defeated by a genius who came to the door on his own initiative. I don't know what Director Platinum is thinking in his heart now. Sensing Naoto Sanada's gaze, Kozo Shirogane suddenly showed a smile. Sanada. In all these years of serving as the supervisor of the Teikō basketball club, this is the first time I have personally invited players, Nijimura Shuzo. What do you think? Naoto Sanada nodded. He is very strong and is indeed a player worthy of supervision and attention, but... However, it seems that he doesn't look as good as Shigure Akito-san. Is that what you think? Kozo Shirogane completed the rest of the words for Naoto Sanada, and Naoto Sanada nodded after hesitating for a moment, because he knew very well that Supervisor Shirogane was not the kind of person who would feel that he had lost face because of this. Sanada. Kozo Shirogane pointed to the team motto "Victory in every battle" on the second floor of the arena, and then said, "The absolute concept that Teikō firmly believes in is victory is everything. How many people in Teikō are there who can carry this through to the end?" Kozo Shirogane looked at Shigure Akito, who was gradually smiling freely on the court, and then looked at Shuzo Nijimura, who had lost a complete offensive and defensive round, but his mood was gradually rising. Hongcun construction. Ever since I paid attention to him, his strength has been quite strong. But what attracts me most, apart from his talent far beyond his peers, is his seemingly meaningless, but actually strong, desire to win. This is a completely different weapon from a gifted body, excellent basketball ability, things that are born or trained. No one can win all the time and will inevitably fail somewhere. Knowing this, Teikō Junior High's philosophy is winning is everything. Why? What else could it be but self-respect? The impressive picture gradually formed in Shirogane Kozo's mind. That one at the park, after losing to a high school player. Come and check in on time every night. One more goal. One more goal. One more goal. No matter how many times it encounters obstacles, until victory, it is persistent and never gives up, and at the same time has enough talent and ability to win the victory. At that moment, Shirogane Kozo saw the blood and oxygen belonging to Teikō from the child's body. At the same time, he firmly believed that Nijimura Kozo would lead Teikō's brain to operate at high speed without any hindrance. Watch carefully, Sanada. Maybe in the next round, Nijimura-san will find a way to deal with it. To win. Chapter 14. Shigure Akito took a deep breath. At this time, he was completely immersed in the game and had no time to pay attention to the comments around him. In the duel with Nijimura, he had roughly figured out the level of his current ability in actual combat. The offense is not weak, even if Nijimura's defense is ridiculously strong, he can still break through it with his skills. But the problem is that his own defense is weak in the face of Nijimura Shuzo's offense, and he can basically only rely on Kyoto Nobunaga flying block to fight the opponent's finishing blow. His defensive performance before this block was much worse than Nijimura. And Shigure Akito knows it well. The difference is not in physical talent, but in skill and experience. But in the final analysis, at this stage of the national first grade, you can hone such a level of skills and experience and use them on the field to analyze and judge the opponent's movements and come up with corresponding technical attacks. This thing cannot be summed up simply by the word experience. Observation. Analysis speed. Empirical judgment. This is also a monster-level talent. To be honest, Nijimura's offense just now continuously targeted his defensive weaknesses, and the defense used prejudged actions to block him. Judging from the actual effect, Shigure Akito thought Nijimura's talent was Emperor I. Tisk. Monster. He is indeed Captain Rainbow, extraordinary. But even so, Shigure Akito is still convinced that he will be the winner. Because in terms of offense, he hasn't used all his skills yet, so he can be beaten continuously using a pattern that Nijimura Shuzo has never seen before. Defense. He can also use flyer block to fight. In this way, this duel will enter a situation where you can't guard me, but I can block your shots. An 11-point game is just 5 or 6 goals. When my offensive skills are used up, the game will probably be over. Shigure Akito's offensive round. Immediately after washing the ball, Hongcun lowered his waist to get close to his body. This time he lowered his body's center of gravity to the lowest, and the defensive distance suddenly shortened the moment Shigure Akito caught the ball. At the same time, he put a hand on Shigure Akito's waist to control the defensive distance. This defensive skill is very essential. Purpose: it is to destroy the 3-threat posture at the beginning of 1v1 and force the opponent to drop the ball. But the problem is, the center of gravity is too low. At this time, Shigure Akito can completely shoot Nijimura with a facial C. Shigure Akito squeezed Nijimura sideways. After seeing Nijimura put his center of gravity so low, he also thought of this. If he simply used the standing soft 3-pointer rapid fire to pull him out, he might be able to score successfully. Shigure Akito. No. Wrong. In Nijimura's sharp eyes, Shigure Akito suddenly thought of the calm and wise behavior of the other party. At this moment, he held back and allowed himself to think more. The standing soft 3-point shot is indeed very fast, but when it comes to the takeoff of the shot, the height is compromised for speed, which is almost the same as a reverse shot. This kind of defense was made with this in mind. Deliberately lowering your center of gravity and tricking yourself into shooting a 3-pointer. Thinking of this, Shigure Akito immediately gave up the idea of using standing soft 3 points. At the same time, the moment he gave up the idea of shooting, the defensive pressure from Hongcun increased sharply. The hand pressed on his waist, constantly squeezing the space for him to make moves. There is no other way. In this state, you can only drop the ball. Although he was forced very tight. But this attribute should be enough to support myself. Protecting the ball with his left hand, he forcibly blocked Hongcun's body and dribbled sideways to the right to widen the distance. Hongcun Zaihuzeo raised his eyebrows slightly. This person. The follow-up response was very calm. But it can be seen from the hesitation about shooting just now that it does not stem from the game habit of planning and acting later, but from the confidence in one's own strength in unexpected situations on the field. After distance, Shigure Akito paid attention to his ultimate move. Tomoka Ude freeze moment and Kiyota Nobunaga reflex back knuckle. When the two ultimate moves coexist, they use the same energy bar. In other words, when the energy is full, if one of them is used, the energy will be emptied. For energy growth, Shigure Akito has basically figured it out. Generally speaking, if you don't do anything and grow naturally on the field, you can accumulate energy almost once in 2 minutes. Once it is full, it will not accumulate anymore. If you want to maximize energy utilization, then use it when you have enough. Remove natural growth. Scores, steals, rebounds, etc. When the energy is not fully accumulated, if you achieve these positive data on the court, you will get additional energy bonuses. Hit some good shots and the bonus will be even greater. In this way, basically, you can do a big move in 1 minute. Just like now. After an explosive dunk and block, about a minute later, Shigure Akito had already accumulated the energy needed for his ultimate move, and was now sparklingly ready to go. The issue is, which one should I choose between freeze moment and reflexive back button? The freeze moment was used, but the reverse back dunk was never exposed, and it was Shigure Akito's favorite dunk, but the freeze moment of must stagger made Shigure Akito waver for a moment. Shigure Akito. I have just used the move Kiyota Nobunaga button. Now sure enough, it would be safer to freeze the moment. Chapter 15. Ultimate move freeze moment, a quick forward breakthrough, and after an instant freeze, a large retreat will definitely knock down any opponent within the range who can be knocked down. Shigure Akito's control of the ball suddenly accelerated, an orange light could almost be seen in the movement of his hands. Seeing this, Nijimura Shuzo also reacted extremely quickly and took a step back, ready to face the offensive. Snapped. 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 Shigure Akito approached Nijimura step by step, trying to pull him into the attack range of the freeze moment, and confront his own freeze moment head-on. Staring directly at Nijimura's defensive actions, Shigure's eyes suddenly focused. The next second. Tisk. The sound of violent friction between sneakers and the floor was heard. At the same time, Hongcun's pupil shrank, like a hunting beast. He finally restrained himself and waited for the opportunity to hunt. Faced with Shigure Akito's suddenly accelerated breakthrough action, Nijimura Shuzo's reaction or prediction was incredibly fast. Before the breakthrough ball had even landed, he had already completed the action in sync with Shigure Akito. But there was quite a bit of thunder and light rain. Nijimura's defense reacted extremely quickly, and it turned out to be a sideways block with the middle door wide open. Like a gamble, only one side of Shigure Akito was blocked. Shigure Akito. This guy. Isn't this completely letting go? Are you targeting my retreat action? Not only that. He should have also considered the existence of freeze moment, a super awesome skill. Otherwise, if it is just for retreating, there is no need for him to dodge to one side as if he is hiding. It is enough to complete the prediction and speed up to get closer. Really? In this case, it's better to avoid the shaking range of the freeze moment than moving back. But with the middle door so wide open, are you looking down on me too much? Do you think I won't be able to hold back my moves and force myself to do it? Since you left it here, then as you wish, attack your side. Although this freeze moment was interrupted, resulting in a waste of energy, it also successfully forced Nijimura to make such a compromised defense. In this way, it's not a waste either. As for whether this is a trap created by Hongcun, body positions are parallel. The attacker has the initiative. The door on the right is wide open. In this situation, the signal is obvious. The defense built by Nijimura is clearly telling Shigure Akito that even if it exposes flaws in the defense due to checking your outside attack, I also want you to come to the restricted area for a head-on confrontation. This means to return it. Right? Off the field. The corners of Shirogane Genzo's mouth couldn't help but curl up. Regarding Naoto Sanada's belief that Shigure Akito is stronger, he sincerely gave a negative answer. Shigure Akito is very talented. It can be seen with the naked eye that he may be even better than Nijimura Xiaozhou, but even so, he can still say with certainty that at this stage, Nijimura Xiaozhou is the better one. Platinum Farming understands the importance of talent very well. One day in the future, Nijimura Shuzo may lose to the rapidly evolving Shigure Akito, but what is certain is that it is far from this stage. And Shirogane Kozo narrowed his eyes and smiled. But in his hands, he clenched his fist tightly. Talent can be cultivated and blossomed, inspiration can be polished and carved. Believing that his power is more than just that, Hongcun Xiuzhao, who pursues victory wholeheartedly, will definitely make his talents blossom and bear fruit earlier and stronger. However, just when Platinum Genzo was so convinced, the situation on the field suddenly changed. As Kozo Shirogane predicted, Nijimura would use his amazing information processing and judgment capabilities to crack Shigure Akito in the next head-to-head confrontation and did not appear. Instead, it was Shigure Akito who gave everyone present an unexpected blow. In the field, Shigure Akito took the initiative to interrupt the freeze moment retreat and broke through to Nijimura's exposed weak side, with a strange smile on his face. Although the level and experience gained from playing Wild Ball in the previous life are definitely not as good as those built in Hongcun in this science fiction world. But our quality is not high and it takes a long time. Don't underestimate this valuable experience. Head-to-head confrontation? Ha! What a joke! Of course, we use our own strengths to attack the other party's weaknesses. He took advantage of his strengths and thrust them hard. And in the current situation, what are your advantages compared to those built in Hongcun? Slam dunk? Of course not. Nijimura builds a defensive trap that is full of confidence and almost obvious. Although I don't know how he is going to do it, Shigure Akito will not do that when fighting him. Phew! In front of everyone's stunned eyes, Shigure Akito suddenly hit the ball against the backboard. Wudaihi full acceleration, the belief in winning allows him to accelerate at a faster speed, without the ball. Tisk! The moment the ball is thrown, Shigure Akito suddenly increased his speed and opened up a position with Nijimura's Shuzo beside him. Kyata Nobunaga monkey jump. Keep moving. Snap. Catch the ball. Kyata Nobunaga following layup. At the moment of receiving the ball, he directly throws the ball up and completes a quick layup. Shuzo Nijimura jumped up and was about to dunk at Shigure Akito. When he saw the opponent's attack on the basket, he couldn't help but suffocated because the layup was so fast. It was almost just a touch of the ball. The next second, the basketball just jumps onto the hoop. Hey! A solid hit. Platinum Kozo. Chapter 16. Off the field. Shirogane Kozo looked at Shigure Akito with a complicated expression. Inside the venue, Shigure Akito and Nijimura Shuzo looked at each other with similar expressions. Shigure Akito didn't know what Nijimura was feeling, but Shigure Akito himself secretly breathed a sigh of relief after seeing Nijimura's defense in his peripheral vision just now. Fortunately, the ones without head irons use Kyata Nobunaga buckle. Nijimura didn't even want to confront him head-on. The defense insidiously targeted the fact that he was not big enough to catch the ball with one hand, and was attacking him where he was putting the ball together. If instead of tossing the ball in advance, he had chosen a self-tossing and self-shooting high play, but had still chosen to dunk at the same rhythm as the first attack, with Nijimura's judgment ability, the cutting line would definitely have been completed before he started. In the process of lifting the ball for a dunk, cut the ball off. But now it's exposed. Next, you must be more careful and varied in your korfball. The current score is 4-0. Shigure Akito leads the way. After Nijimura Shuzo was stunned for a moment, he asked Shigure Akito for the fairway with his still cold expression, "Give me the ball, it's my turn." Shigure Akito passes the ball to Nijimura. After getting the ball, Nijimura's momentum suddenly rose. In this rather sci-fi basketball world, Shigure Akito really felt the burning aura at this moment. Hongcun's cultivation started, and his starting hand was still extremely superb with strength and skill. Bang! A hit during the passing movement suddenly stopped Shigure Akito for a moment, followed by an abrupt step back. Shigure Akito! Everyone was stunned. Shigure Akito was also stunned. As far as the retreat step is concerned, although Nijimura's retreat step is very strong, it is still a little less interesting than Shigure Akito, a master of retreat steps. But Hongcun's technology focuses on comprehensiveness. The whole set of techniques after this step back is the reflection of his ability. Then, the shooting fake after stepping back is a prayer. Crotch. Hip turn breakthrough. After Shigure Akito was delayed by the hit, he rushed forward to defend with all his strength. A figure suddenly flashed past him, and then the person in front of him disappeared from his sight. Shigure Akito. Depend on. So strong. The whole set of technical movements is too coherent, and it is not a fixed routine that is predetermined in advance, but more like a random movement based on experience gained from a lot of actual combat. But a country lives for a lifetime. Where do you get so much practical experience? For a primary school student, counting from the age when he can play seriously, he will be able to gain this level of experience within 2 years of playing. He is born with double or triple experience buffs, right? Okay. Okay. You use your experience and skills, and I use my skills. Let's see who's better. Wudaihi accelerate with all your strength. Phew. With 87 points of running ability, Shigure Akito once again speeded up the pursuit. After being broken through by Nijimura, he activated his skill to pursue a physical pursuit with pure hard power. However, Nijimura seemed to predict that he would catch up. In the process of rushing towards the basket, with no defense in front, he suddenly stopped and leaned his back against Shigure Akito, and at the same time, using this push. Take off, lean forward, hand over, lay up. And Shigure Akito, who was suddenly hit by Nijimura's emergency stop, had no room to start and block the shot at that moment, and his skill flying block was completely grey. In fact, the moment he was hit and stopped, he couldn't even take off and block the shot. Hey! Nijimura made a layup. Score 4:2. Shigure Akito. Rubbing his sore chest, Shigure Akito secretly said 6. The game is still going on. The two sides went back and forth, and no one took advantage of it. Suddenly, we entered a situation where no one could guard against anyone. Magical. Each other was penetrated. Nijimura Shuzo's offense and defense are extremely balanced. On offense, Nijimura knows very well that Shigure Akito has almost nothing to do against him except for blocking shots. Immediately, his offense revolved around how to avoid his opponent's blocks. Good results. Hongcun used his superb skills to perfectly demonstrate how to avoid his opponent's blocking. The next few goals were scored in succession. However, Shigure Akito kept changing his moves in different ways in the next few rounds, but he couldn't resist. Wudaiuhi breakthrough and soft shooting. During any breakthrough process, you can interrupt the breakthrough and jump up, and shoot softly. This move suddenly came out, making Shigure Akito's already very strong dribbling with step back as the core suddenly become even weirder. Plus the most important thing. After the energy of the ultimate move improved again, a Kyoto Nobunaga reflexive back dunk. When Shigure Akito took off from the baseline, glided in the air, flew from one side of the basket to the other side of the basket, and with a bang, he dunked in reverse. Hongcun Zaihuzeo, who had been calm all this time, his eyes widened in an instant. This. Also the last ball. Leading 4:2 from Shigure Akito. This 2-point lead allowed Shigure Akito to take the lead in getting the match point, and the point difference was maintained until the end of the game. The final score was 12-10. Toot. The courtside whistle sounded. The victory has been decided. Shigure Akito builds on Nijimura. Shigure Akito wins. Chapter 17. On the field. Shigure Akito raised his arms and showed an excited smile. The other side. Nijimura Shuzo was silent, with the blazing fire in his eyes hidden under his cold face. He bent down to pick up the basketball at his feet. With a certain sense of ritual, he turned around and threw it into the basket behind him. Off the field. Shirogane Genzo looked at this scene with burning eyes. Rain. Rainbow. One person. And another person. When two people meet, they may have some strange reactions. The blood and oxygen that I identified as belonging to Teikō when I first met Nijimura seemed to be split into two at this moment. Perhaps an encounter that could change everything is happening here. In the midst of meditation. Now. Teikō's team responsible for the evaluation is also outputting conclusions on Nijimura Shuzo and Shigure Akito. Director Platinum, there is no doubt that these two freshmen are geniuses among geniuses. There's absolutely no problem in joining the First Army directly. It would be better to say. Even in the First Army, after systematically training the necessary tactical coordination and physical strength, these two are probably the best. This time, we actually had two newcomers of this level join the team at once. Next year and the year after that, I'm afraid they will be the core. No. From the perspective of competing for the championship, starting from this year, maybe it will be better, that is, the starting players of the First Army. Naoto Sanada glanced at Director Platinum who was staring at the court intently, and waved to interrupt the excited coaching team. However, when he lifted the glasses on the bridge of his nose, he, who was always serious, couldn't help but feel moved. Not as calm as before, pushed the frame up a bit. Quietly pull the frame back a little. He turned to look at Shigure Akito. He was more optimistic about this child than Nijimura Shuzo, who was more optimistic about director Shirogane, because of his mysterious character. 176 centimeters. First grade of junior high school. Physical talent explodes. In terms of skills and experience, he is not as mature and comprehensive as Nijimura, but his proficient skills are extraordinary and top-notch. Even in a wealthy team like Teikō, he had never imagined or seen such a monster breaking the rules among the first-year players. Teikō's failure in the championship in the past 2 years, and the widening gap in strength between him and the champion, once made Naoto Sanada a little anxious. But with the appearance of Shigure Akito, plus built in Hongcun, such a dual-core driver is enough to compete for the championship in the next 2 years, no, 3 years. Soon after the peak showdown between Shigure Akito and Nijimura Shuzo. In the subsequent newcomer test, in the opinion of Teikō's evaluation team, except for Kuroname Shinji and Fukei Reiji who were somewhat bright spots, the rest of them completed the test without any highlights. Now, we will announce the admission results of all new recruits, starting with the 3 armed forces. Shinayashiki Makoto, Yukio Todo, Aira Yukaiji, Seidoi Satoshi, Tatsuya Murao. The above, congratulations on successfully joining Teikō, the Third Army. Next, please follow Mijun's coach Nagamura Hiroshi directly to the Mijun training arena. On the sidelines, many newcomers whose names were called out, but who thought they had the strength to join the Second Army, seemed to lose light all of a sudden. People whose names were not called, after noticing this atmosphere, also became very excited. He held back his excitement for restraint. Certainly. Except for Shigure Akito's friend who has a carefree personality. Black name Shinji hugged Shigure Akito and said, "Okay. First, make sure the Second Army." Pulling away Karina Shinji's hand. Shigure Akito secretly said that his strength is quite strong. "What are you excited about?" "We agreed to target an army." Black name Shinji. Thinking of the duel between Shigure Akito and Nijimura Shuzo, Kuroko Shinji's face darkened. He had heard clearly before that when coach Naoto Sanada pulled Akito over for a playoff, he said it was a qualification test for the First Army. If the strength of the First Army was enough for the First Army, how could he dare to think? But he won't lose with his words. When Kurono Shinji and Shigure Akito had a heated argument between friends. The other side. After Reiji Fukei confirmed that he could enter the Second Army, he lowered his eyes and remained silent with unclear expression. Talent. The so-called talent. Essence, body, skill. Do your best and only then question your own talents after you have mastered them, Reiji. Besides, when will the moment of talent bloom come? Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after tomorrow, maybe next year. If you think you have no talent from the beginning, then you will stop here at this moment. Call. Fukei Reiji took a deep breath. The words of former coach Katsunori Takuchi were still in his ears, which helped him eliminate some of the shock in his heart caused by the duel between Nijimura and Shigure just now. After a moment, he looked up at Shigure Akito and Nijimura Shuzo. The eyes are darkly obscured by long bangs. Showing his eyes for the first time today. Fukei Reiji. I never stop there. You have to work hard, until that moment comes. Chapter 18. Next is the announcement of the Second Army. Soon, the list of the Second Army was also announced. Black Shinji and Reiji Fukei were all on the list. In addition to the two of them, several others also entered the Second Army. Success. Second Army. Call. Hey, although the process was very stressful, it went smoothly. Haha, let's work hard together. At the end of the announcement of the 3 armies, as the personnel left the field and went to the arena of the 3 armies, there were not many people left in the venue, so the announcement of the Second Army ended quickly. Then, the only ones left on the field were Shigure Akito and Nijimura Shuzo, whose names were not called. He just stood in the middle of the field, standing out from the crowd and being watched. When Naoto Sanada finished his announcement and Shigure Akito and Nijimura Shuzo were still not called, everyone realized what was going to happen next. These two people will be an army. Really? These are the members of the Second Army. As for the rest, built by Hongcun, Shigure Akito. Facing two newcomers who broke the rules and joined the First Army as freshmen, Naoto Sanada couldn't help but pause for a moment, and then said solemnly, "I am Naoto Sanada, the coach in charge of the daily training of the First Army. You can just follow me from now on. Welcome to join the First Army, everyone." Although it was expected. But when it really happened before their eyes, all the newcomers on the scene and the Second Army who had not yet evacuated, as test opponents, all focused their attention on the two people in the center of the empty field. It's so awesome, breaking history and so on. Real or fake? Even the captain couldn't do it in his first year, right? That's right. When the captain was a rookie, he was promoted to the First Army in the winter of his first grade. That's already a pretty impressive achievement. But considering the strength of these two people, it's not a surprise. In the field, Shigure Akito was dealing with system prompts popping up one after another in confusion. Sudden. The black man Shinji behind him gave him a push. "Why are you dazed again? The bad guy has already gone up. Obviously you won, don't let him take the lead." Shigure Akito. There is no need to fight over who is first and who is last at this time. Hyming is simply not compatible with Hongcun Zaihu's woe. He must not be pleasing to his eyes, and he spoke so loudly that even Hongcun Zaihuzu looked over. "What are you looking at? Why don't you let others talk if you lose?" However, Nijimura Shuzo just glanced at Shigure Akito and then turned back. Obviously, he didn't take the black name Shinji seriously at all. And the latter noticed this immediately. Then, his little face turned red with anger. At the same time, Shigure Akito looked at Kurona Shinji with admiration as he looked at a brave man, thinking to himself that he didn't know if he could bear the Hizaki Shogo package given to Kurona Shinji. The current Path of Glory mission qualification of an army has been completed. Task content: the entrance test is over and you successfully joined the First Army. Task rewards are loading. The player's advanced system has been opened in advance. Get advanced card *1. The current Road to Glory Mission 0 ceiling has been completed. Task content: during the entrance test, successfully score a clean sheet. Task rewards are loading. The player's talent system has been opened in advance. Get talent card *1. The current Path of Glory mission Yahung has been completed. Quest content: proof that Shigure Akito is better than Nijimura Builder. Task rewards are loading. The player card pool system has been opened in advance. Obtain player coin *100. Standing next to Nijimura Shuzo, Shigure Akito followed Coach Sanada to the First Army arena and checked the system prompts that he had not looked at carefully just now. Really? Although there is no early task release. But after all the entrance tests were completed, as if a hidden mission had been completed, mission rewards popped up one after another. Among them, Shigure Akito thought that he would win a prize for defeating Shuzo Nijimura. And in Shigure Akito's view, the reward related to Nijimura is particularly important. Because by defeating Nijimura, he unlocked the draw card in advance. But card pool system. Although he has heard that this game can obtain new players by drawing cards, but it seems that the method is not just drawing cards. He remembered that he could save resources and exchange them directly. Is this a direct slash, and it's all about drawing cards? Never mind. It does not matter. It's not a real game, so it's normal for it to change. Shigure Akito then clicked on the Advanced System, Talent System, and Card Pool System and checked them in order. To put it simply, Advance is to upgrade the player's level to obtain higher basic attributes. Talent corresponds to various bonuses on skills and derivative skills that unlock skills. And Card Pool is more clear. Used to get new players. Shigure Akito's eyes became brighter and brighter. It feels like the future is bright. Especially thinking of the battle between himself and Hongcun Zaihuzeo just now. Shigure Akito's excitement has never faded from the various images that linger in his mind. Shigure Akito. Hey! It was me who just played that kind of game on the court? The more I think about it, the more incredible it becomes. Myself just now. So handsome too. Chapter 19. Teikō's Second Army's Training Arena. A lot of time has passed in the blink of an eye since the day of the new recruits' entrance test, and most of the first-year recruits have gradually become accustomed to Teikō's devilish training. But a habit is a habit. But you still have to complain when you are tired, especially today. Assistant Teacher Menda. We agreed that we can play in the external training match this afternoon. With this intensity of training, do we really still have the energy to play in the afternoon? Yes. Yes. The first person to complain came from the black name Shinji. Facing the assistant coach, this man spoke without any scruples. With the pressure due to his height, he mainly displayed the recklessness of a big brother who takes the lead. Behind him, several first-year students from the same period echoed. Apart from Reiji Fukuya looked at a loss. He was holding the ball and standing blankly behind a few people. He didn't want to turn around and keep up with the training. He felt that it was not good to be separated from his companions. In the end, he could only stand there and catch up. After turning around and taking a look around, Fukuya Reiji breathed a sigh of relief. The coach is not here. Not bad. Court sighed. At this moment, he is temporarily taking over as the coach of the Second Army and directing the training as an assistant coach. He looked at this big man with outstanding talent with a speechless expression. After all, in the entrance test, the black name Shinji also defeated a member of the Second Army. Although it's a bit reluctant, it's almost evenly matched. But the coach of the Second Army, Coach Ino, is very optimistic about him joining the First Army after the first grade, or even earlier. That's the character of this guy, he's very hot-tempered. Extremely restless. But after all, it is better than the Hongcun repairs on the Yujun side, right? There is also Shigure Akito, who no one expected, who is equally difficult to deal with, and even to a certain extent, driven crazy, who may still be built in Nijimura. After hearing about the First Army, the first 2 days were fine. However, not even 2 days passed. After a duel with the starting point guard outside of daily training, Shigure Akito suddenly went berserk and became uncontrollable. It was like a duel addiction. From then on, he frantically sought out the starting players for duels every day. It has been clearly stated time and again that even if a starter is defeated in a duel, it will not affect the judgment of the team's starting position. But Shigure Akito doesn't care. It seems that if he wins the starting lineup in a one-on-one match, who can give him a lottery draw? Then, unknowingly, the construction of Hongcun also started. Moreover, this guy's style of finding people to challenge one another is not as smooth as Shigure Akito's. In such a short period of time, I heard that the army has been turned upside down. Conflicts surrounding Hongcun's construction have occurred several times. Thinking of this, the assistant coach of the Second Army looked at the big brother Kuromi Shinji. At this moment, he actually thought that the other person was very cute, and then he used some rare thought to comfort him and said, "Train well." The 2 members of the First Army who are leading the team today have the same amount of training in the morning. Even because they are from the First Army, the intensity is still higher than yours. They won't complain like that. You won't lose to Yujun, right? Black name Shinji frowned, and his whole body was accurately predicted by the assistant coach. Hey? Will I lose to them? Look at it. In the training match in the afternoon, I will get more points than the first army. When the assistant teacher heard this, he suddenly showed a strange smile. Okay. I'm looking forward to it. Correct. You don't know yet, right? The sudden pause when the assistant teacher spoke made several newcomers look over curiously, while Reiji Fukuya raised his head as if feeling something. Fukuya Reiji. I see. Are those two members of the army leading the team? Black name Shinji, what? Assistant coach, the two players representing Teikō's first army this afternoon are Shigure Akito and Nijimura Shuzo. Although you have not practiced together on the court. But get along well. Black name Shinji. The other newcomers to the second army. After the assistant coach finished speaking, he turned to look at the court, his face suddenly changed and he said sternly, the timer for the passing and cutting training is over. Let's start the ball control training during the march. Yes. 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 As the training continued, the sound of heavy breathing could be heard one after another in the field. If you look carefully, they are almost all in first grade. At the same time, while Kurono Shinji and the others were breathing heavily, a burst of whispering came from the